welcome back to Lessons Learnt. This is week 3 of the Scrappy Celebration Sew Along that we have going on here on the channel. So today we are going to make blocks C and D. C we only need to make 4 of, as opposed to A and B we had to make 6. So C is going to be a little bit less to do, but then we also have our D blocks, which there are several of those. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, I think there are 6 of those. Yes, there are. But first we're going to concentrate on C, and you need to go ahead and cut your large squares and all of your small squares that's indicated in the pattern for C for your background, your whites, your I'm using white on white, or if you're using what's suggested in the pattern is white background low volume prints, you need to get those together. So you have a number of these and a whole bunch of the smaller size. And then if you'll look here on the pattern, and this is on page 35 upper left, this is how you're going to want to do your blocks. It's a plus sign. The 2 smaller colored blocks are on top of each other here, but then you also have a bar going across. And once you get your block C finished, you want your bars all going horizontally. So the only difference that I see here also is that some of them, you know, you have an upper left and a lower right, and some of them you have a lower left and an upper right. And then you mix the colors accordingly. So this is an instance where you're really going to have to depend on the quilt assembly diagram on page 41. So we have one here, there's one here, and then there's one here. So you have 2 that are going diagonally to the right, and 2 that are going diagonally to the left. But always remember that your bar centerpiece goes horizontal. So in these colors, it's asking for 2 orange, it's asking for 2 blues, 2 pink, and 2 greens. Now I'm choosing to limit my orange, pink, and blue to 1 print each, but I am splitting up my greens. The only reason I'm doing that is just to be frugal with my fabric. I have 2 small pieces of greens, and I think with these blocks I'll be able to almost finish these off. So I'm just trying to use up what I have and not cut something that's still in a bigger piece. Now you don't want to sacrifice the look of your quilt over something like that, but I think in my case it's just going to work out fine for me. I'll still have 1, 2, 3 other 4. I have 4 other greens that I can pull from for the rest of the quilt. So I'm going to go ahead and use 2 of these smaller pieces to use those down. 1 orange, 1 pink, and 1 blue. I have several blues and I have several pinks to pull from, and oranges. So that's the only reason I'm doing that. But you can certainly use a different color for each one of the blocks. You could use 2 oranges, 2 pinks, 2 different blues, 2 different greens. Hope that makes sense. But the main thing is to watch the position. You know, this one goes this way and this one goes that way. This one goes this way and this one down here goes that way. So you're really going to have to look at the diagram to get those right. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out my pieces in the size they need to be out of my colors, and I'll show you those, and then I'll start constructing a block for you. Alright, here's an example of one of the C blocks that I'm getting ready to sew together. So you should have, let me just show you exactly which one I'm doing. It's this one. Down here on the second to last row, there's green on the lower left and pink on the upper right. So this is the first one I'm going to actually sew. I have all my others cut out. So I wanted to show you again, because we talked about this last week, how and when to use a scant 1/4 inch. And I have this example here. Of course, our goal is to get this quadrant to match up to the size of this and this. These two have no seams in them, but these have two seams this way and this way once you get these rows together. This one has no seams. So I wanted to show you again why a scant 1/4 inch is a good idea on these multi-pieced pieces of your block. If you look at my ruler, I have this positioned exactly between these two marks right here. And so when you put those together, you're going to lose a 1/2 inch here and here. And that's true when you put this to this one and this to this one as well, and so forth. But you're losing a little bit each time on these, because when you lay that right there, you can see, hopefully you can see, there's like a 32nd of an inch. Here's my line that I want to match up to, but it's just short a little bit. So that's why you have to make your seam less wide. And then the same thing over here. You can see that there's a little bit of space between here and the edge of that pink. So that's why you have to do that. So these two, you want to use your scant 1/4 inch measurement. And, you know, like I said, 32nd of an inch. So if you've got some sort of guide that you can set, or you have a foot that has a marking on it, or if you just want to kind of estimate what a 32nd would be, this is the time to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these together and then show you how, by doing that, they'll be the size of this. And therefore your block will go together and be the right size. Alright, here we go. Got these all together. Scant 1/4 inch. I mean, it's just a very little scant 1/4 inch. So that one fits on that one. That one fits on that one. So we can expect that this will go together to make our 9.5 inch block. Let me sew these seams together. I'll show you this one, and then I'll move on to my other ones, finish the C blocks, and I'll be back to show you how to make a D block. Here's our 9.5 inch block. Now, two things. Construct your top row, your top two finished quadrants first, and then this one, and then put these two long pieces together through here. As you can see, I have my seam there. And then also don't forget to iron all your seams open. That's what the pattern suggests. And I have a 9.5 inch block here, as you can see, next to the ruler. And it looks like it's out of proportion because it isn't sewn in yet. So don't think you've made a mistake. You're gonna sew in 1/4 inch of that. So it'll definitely be a symmetrical plus sign when you get finished. So just pay attention to the position of the colors according to this. This is my block here, green on the bottom and pink on the upper right. So I have two more to do. One in this same position and two this way. So you will see those at the end of the video when I have all blocks C and D done. So let's move on to block D and see what we have to do for that one. Alrighty, let's get started on our D blocks. We have 6 D blocks to make, and in our diagram here we have 1 in the first row, 1 in the second row, none in the third row. Here's 2 in the fourth row, 1 in the fifth row, and then we have to go all the way down to the bottom row to get our last one here. So this page 41, has the letter designation on each block, as I've mentioned before. So this is something you'll have to refer to quite a bit. Here is the instruction sheet without the measurements showing, but you can kind of see from this illustration how they're going to go together. So we have 3 of the inner 9 patches versus the 5 that we had in the B block. So there's a little bit less work here. You have to make 2 less of those. And then, you know, you've got your background like normal, but then you have 2 blocks, those 2 that aren't smaller 9 patches that will be one of your oranges. I have 3 oranges, and I think I have used this one so far. I'll probably do 2 of each on that big solid block there. I'll probably do 2 of each of these. This has yellow in it, but it's mostly orange in my opinion. I think it'll be fine. And then my smaller ones, I'll just trade them in and out. However, I'll probably try to use up some of this because this is my smallest piece. I don't know. That's just kind of how I think. An advantage also to this block versus the B block or the C block, really. You don't have to pay attention to the direction, you know, that some of them go this way and some of them go that way. All of these blocks, your little 9 patches, all go from the bottom left to the upper right. So they're all the same. You don't have to think as much with that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out my pieces, and I will come back and show you how I'm going to put this together. Okay, here's what we need to get 2 of my blocks finished. Actually, my white I have cut out for everything, but for right now I've just cut out for my first 2 identical blocks. And you don't have to make yours identical. You can make all 6 of yours different if you have a lot of different prints you want to use. Nothing wrong with that. I forgot to mention that right here in the middle of each of these 9 patches is a dark pink. And I think I went ahead and cut all my dark pinks the same because I had a strip that was already 1.5, and I thought I'm just going to put that in the middle of all of them. Plus, that's really the only dark pink that I'm using. I have a couple of reds, but it said dark pink. So that's what I'm going to use. Let's talk a little bit about these 9 patches again. You're going to construct all of those first and then put your rows together. Again, you're opening the seams and pressing them open. As you can see the arrows here, that's what that means. And I think there's a, let me look, it's got some measurements on it, but it's the same thing with your 9 patches. Before you put them together with your solid blocks there, you open the seams and press them open. Someone wanted me to mention about doing strip sets, and if you don't know what a strip set is, when you're doing blocks like these, you can put some sets together like this. So cut a bunch of strips and arrange them how they are in the block. Now you can't do this one with this one. So let's just say this is my top row here. So I would cut a strip set 1.5 out of this. You see I've gotten sewn 3 strips together, opened, and then I'm going to hopefully, am I out of your frame? I am. Let me move this up. You're going to take this, it's pressed open, and it would be longer than this because you'd want to make it long enough to do all of your first and second row of your small 9 patch. Okay, so you would do this. You would cut a series of these, and I'm only going to be able to cut 2 out of this, but you just go down and keep cutting these, and then that would be your top and bottom. It saves some time. There are some disadvantages of doing that though. I'm not going to tell you not to do it because a lot of people do this and they're fine with it, but the thing that I don't like about it is that these open really easy. And since we're working with all these little pieces, as you're fiddling with these, trying to get those little rows together, it's going to open on you, and there's no way to avoid that. I mean, I locked my seams on the ends when I did my strip sets, but there's no way to lock your ends because you make the strip set and then you cut it. Some people say, well, it does better if you do your seams to one side. Does it tend to want to open? Well, the pattern's calling for them to be open. And I feel like there's a reason for that. And what else? Of course, if you do the strip sets, also, you're going to want to do your scant 1/4 inch when you put those rows together on this seam here. Let's say this is still together. You're going to want to do scant 1/4 inch. Because if you don't, they're going to be too small. You can already see. Well, that's not too bad. These are. I'm not sure why that one's. I might want to. Oh, I see why it is. It's bent over. Here. See, you got a little bit left on each side. So just remember that. But you can definitely do it that way if you choose to. It does save time. If those seams don't fly open on you and cause you an issue, because if they do, then you're going to spend more time trying to fix it. Just my opinion. I don't care how anybody decides to do theirs. If they love doing that, works for them, and they're very careful and all of that, then be my guest. Do it. But I'm going to go ahead and put one of my blocks together so you can see what it looks like. There's my first block finished. This has got a lot of pizzazz to it. So it's funny how when you do a scrappy quilt, you know, using all your past project scraps, you get to see again and think about again where you've used these fabrics before. This orange I probably bought for a project back in 2007-ish, and I still have some. This has come up in every scrappy quilt I've ever made. I'm finally down to this handful of it. I think I may have some squares that I already have cut into different sizes, but this is all of the scrappiness that I have left of it. I don't think I'm going to use it all, even in this project. So it just keeps coming up. So that's kind of fun to see. But as you can see, you got your 3 little 9 patches, your 4 backgrounds, and then your 2 orange blocks. And then the pink ones, the 3 pink ones there, kind of gives it another little dimension of color. I love orange and pink together. It looks really good. And the yellow in there is not bad too. It all kind of comes together. So I have one more block that I will make like this, and then I'll have 2 more pairs that will be different. So hang on till the end and you'll get to see a little show of those blocks.
All I want